The cabin lights flickered softly as the jet engines roared to life. Passengers in first class settled into their leather seats, sipping champagne, flipping through magazines, adjusting pillows. It was the picture of calm, wealth, and quiet luxury, until a sudden, piercing cry cut through the air. Heads turned sharply. A boy, no older than 10, sat trembling in seat 3A, his small hands clutched tightly over his ears. His cries echoed louder, his body rocking back and forth as if the world around him was too much to bear. Beside him, his father, a man whose tailored suit and polished watch marked him as someone used to control, looked helpless. He tried whispering reassurances, tried holding his son's shoulders, but nothing worked. The boy's autism made the noise and claustrophobic cabin unbearable. Other passengers shifted uncomfortably. One woman rolled her eyes. Another muttered, "Unbelievable! In first class, of all places." And then, a sharp voice cut the air. "Can you control him, please? The rest of us paid for peace." A woman in pearls, her designer handbag perched perfectly on her lap, stared daggers at the father and son. The cabin froze, all eyes on them. But what none of them knew was that someone else on that plane was watching, someone who would soon turn this story upside down. The flight had only just taken off. The boys' cries grew louder as the plane tilted into the sky. Flight attendants exchanged nervous glances, approaching cautiously. They leaned toward the father. "Sir, perhaps we can move you to a quieter section?" The suggestion carried an undertone. "Maybe you don't belong here." The father clenched his jaw. He was a man who had built empires, who commanded boardrooms filled with executives. Yet here, he was powerless, unable to ease his son's pain, unable to stop the judging stares of strangers who saw only disruption, not struggle. The cabin whispered with quiet disapproval. Some passengers shook their heads. A businessman pulled his noise-canceling headphones tighter. And at the center of it all, the entitled woman sat upright, her irritation sharp as glass. But this, the narrator's voice lingered, was only the beginning, the moment before the storm. Who was this woman, so quick to demand silence? To the outside world, she was elegance incarnate, socialite, philanthropist, a woman who posed for charity galas and signed checks for causes she barely understood. She had money, she had influence. But she also had arrogance. She had a history of seeing herself above others. Waiters whispered about her cruelty. Flight attendants dreaded her complaints. In her world, dignity was reserved for those who deserved it. And in her eyes, the boy's cries were proof of weakness. She leaned forward again. "If he can't behave, he shouldn't be here." Her voice dripped with disdain, her words slicing the air. Others looked down, avoiding confrontation. Some silently agreed, too afraid to admit it. What she didn't realize was that her cruelty, her demand for silence, was about to backfire, in front of the entire world. Beside her, the boy's father closed his eyes, exhaustion pressing heavy. His story stretched far beyond the polished watch on his wrist. Years ago, he had been no different from the passengers in economy, scraping together pennies, working endless hours, chasing a dream others mocked. He built his wealth from nothing, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. But wealth could never shield him from the one thing money couldn't solve, his son's autism. Doctors gave advice. Therapists offered techniques. Still, every day was a new challenge. But the father never gave up. His love was relentless, his patience unshakable. This flight was meant to be a rare moment of joy, a trip just for the two of them. And yet here he was, wealthy, respected, but powerless in front of strangers who only saw disruption, not devotion. What he didn't know was that the very strength he had built through years of resilience was about to become his oppressor's undoing. The boy's cries grew sharper. His small fists pounded the seat. The father whispered, "It's okay, son. We'll be okay." But the words vanished under the sound of discontent. The woman in pearl stood this time, her voice rising. "This is unacceptable. Either move them or do something." Her words pulled nods from some passengers. A man in a suit muttered, "She's right." The pressure mounted. Even the flight attendant, caught between compassion and duty, pleaded softly. Sir, please, maybe consider a different seat? The father's face burned with humiliation. His son's tears fell faster. The walls of judgment closed in. The weight of isolation pressed down, heavier than the altitude. It seemed the family had no allies left. But just when it seemed the father was cornered, help came from the most unexpected place. From the back of the cabin, a figure stood. She was young, dressed simply, her seat in economy. She moved forward calmly, ignoring the murmurs behind her. A black woman, her expression soft but firm, walked down the aisle. She knelt beside the boy, not speaking loudly, not scolding, just humming. A gentle tune, steady and soothing. The boy's cries wavered. His hands loosened. He looked at her, wide-eyed, the sound pulling his focus. She continued, her voice like a blanket against the storm. She tapped her fingers lightly on the armrest, a rhythm he could follow. Slowly, unbelievably, his sobs softened. His breathing steadied. The cabin shifted. Silence, but not of judgment, of awe. Passengers watched as the impossible unfolded. The boy, who moments earlier had been inconsolable, now leaned toward the stranger, his body calming under her presence. The woman in pearls scoffed, crossing her arms. Ridiculous! But now, the stares turned on her. Phones came out, recording every second. A whisper ran through the cabin. Did you see that? By the time the truth of this moment spread beyond the plane, the arrogant passenger's reputation would be ruined forever. Within hours, the world knew. Videos flooded social media. One clip showed the boy crying, another showed the woman's cruel words, and then, like light breaking through clouds, the black woman's kindness transforming the scene. Hashtags trended. Hashtag choose compassion. Hashtag dignity for all. Hashtag not just noise. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram lit up with outrage at the entitled woman and admiration for the stranger who brought peace with nothing but kindness. News outlets picked it up. Morning shows played the video on loop. The airline issued a statement, apologizing for the handling of the situation. The woman in pearls? Her name leaked, her face plastered across headlines. She became a symbol of arrogance exposed. But the young woman who knelt to help? She was celebrated as a hero, her humility contrasting against the other's cruelty. And yet, as powerful as the online punishment was, that wasn't the real takeaway. The lesson was one the world refused to forget. Later that night, the father sat beside his son at home. The boy lay tucked into bed, his favorite blanket around him. The father brushed his hair back gently, whispering words he wished the world had heard. You are enough, just as you are. For all his millions, the father realized, no amount of money could buy what that stranger had given, a moment of pure compassion, uncalculated and free. The lesson was clear: dignity doesn't come with wealth, and kindness doesn't come with status. It comes with humanity. And in that quiet moment, as the boy drifted into sleep, the father understood, this wasn't just his son's fight. It was everyone's. So what do we take away from this? That kindness, when shown at the right moment, can silence cruelty louder than any wealth or status. That in a world quick to judge, compassion remains the most powerful act of all. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it. Tell it. Carry it forward. Because silence in the face of cruelty is complicity, but compassion in the face of judgment is power. And remember, when dignity is denied to one, it is denied to all. So subscribe, share, and let's make sure stories like this spread, not just as entertainment, but as a movement. Because the next time someone is humiliated for being different, maybe you'll be the one who stands up, kneels down, and chooses compassion.